Live from Master Closet Studios, you're listening to the only audio podcast on the internet that uses a green screen. It's the Noobs and the Whovian. My name is Austin. I'm the Whovian. These are my sons, Tripp and Corbin.
And we're the Noobs.
And this is the podcast that introduces a whole new generation to Doctor Who by watching an episode each week and then discussing it from the perspective of a dad who's seen it before.
And two sons who haven't.
So, welcome to episode number 76, covering the classic Who season 8, episodes 1 through 4, The Terror of the Autons. This is the one where the third Doctor meets a new companion. Whovians meet the Master, and Joe meets the Autons. The Autons are invading the Earth, and the Master is helping them until he realizes he'll be killed too. He and the Doctor save the day, and both are now stuck on Earth with broken TARDISes. Tardipodes? I believe it's tardipodes.
Indeed.
Tardipodes. Remember that one? This is story number 55. Y'all remember how normally we're talking about story number 200 and something or other?
Yeah.
Yeah, this is story number 55. It's January 2nd through the 23rd, 1971. Written by Robert Holmes and Barry Letts. We didn't have a ton in the way of miscellaneous trivia, and honestly, I didn't dig into the cast too much. I kind of wanted us to just have some fun talking about this episode because we're coming at this from, all of us are new to this, right? Mm-hmm. So rather than trying to be the voice of expertise here, we're kind of all noobs today. So I did want to, before we jump into it, remind you that Noobs and the Whovian is brought to you by R5 Website Management, where you can get world-class hosting, domain registration, and security at a great price. Now, you guys know we talked about it last week. It's Your Name November. Remember the holiday that I made up?
Yeah.
Your Name November. If you haven't already, guys, it's time to reserve yourname.com. Whatever industry you're in, having your very own domain can really come in handy. If you work for a company that has a big flashy website and you meet somebody and hand them your business card, your name might be the thing that they remember. And so if they go searching for you and yourname.com pops up, you're going to have an easier time connecting with those folks. So remember that for just $13.99 a year, you can reserve your favorite .com, whether it's yourname.com or not. And as always, we have a special deal going for 15% off of your entire order. Go to store.r5websitemanagement.com and use the code
Noobs
at checkout to get 15% off of your entire order and get started building your awesome yourname.com website today. All right, guys, so right on into the checklist of a sort, right? It's a little bit different because we're, again, in some classic Who here, but we do always have a creature of the week. This time, we've got creature of the week and baddie of the week. It's like a Batman movie, right? You can't just have one villain this go around. We've got two. So we had the Master, and I'm just going to drop him in there, but we're going to come back and talk about him later on in the Who's Who section. Mm-hmm. But we can take a little bit of time to talk about the Autons and the Nestine consciousness. Now, this was not the first time we've seen them, right? You guys remember, I guess it was episode 1, wasn't it? It was Rose, where we had the Autons and the Nestine, the mannequins walking and whatnot, and then the big glob of goo that was the Nestine consciousness. You know what? I just thought of something. I wonder if that had been seen before. Jared, I don't know if Jared mentioned that in his primer episode, but I don't know that the Nestine consciousness ever appeared in Classic Who. They were talked about here as disembodied octopus things.
What exactly does that mean?
Yeah, did y'all catch that? I mean, that's what he said, right? I didn't misunderstand him, right?
No, that's totally what he said. He's like, I think their true form is an octopus. What?
Yeah.
Where did you get that from?
He actually, what did he say? He said cephalopod.
Yeah,
and she's
cephalopod.
Like, what? An octopus? I would have thought you would have known that.
Of course.
Stupid woman. Hello, 70s sexism. So the Nestines, I didn't realize that the Nestines were like a race. Mm-hmm. So we've had the Autons and the Nestine consciousness. Yeah. And I thought the Nestine consciousness was just sort of like a mind force that animated plastic or something. And I thought Nestine was even supposed to sound a little like plasticine or something like that. But apparently the Nestines are little octopus alien things.
Apparently.
That are disembodied. I wish we'd have gotten way more about them.
Yeah.
And it may have been because remember, this is not the first episode with the Autons. This is not the first story. Oddly enough, so this is the season opener, right, for season 8. Season 7 also began with a Autons story. So maybe we got a little bit more of it then, and this was the, hey, remember these guys?
Guy.
Yeah, exactly. So we have whoever the Nestines were, they are now disembodied octopodes or octopodes or octopi or whichever one is grammatically fashionable right now. And they are able to animate. What are they able to animate anything plastic, or do you have to get a little bit of them in it?
They're allowed because they animated the cord or whatever.
The who?
The telephone cord.
That was installed by the master.
Right.
They're not going around animating anything around them. It was definitely only things made in there.
It's got to be like they got to get a little drop of them.
Yeah,
in
it seems like
it's specifically
whatever.
targeted.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. So, what all did we see? We saw the troll doll, the daffodils, the phone cord, which we rewound that twice, and then went to the next episode, and it was like, recapping the last 5 minutes of the previous episode. So we saw it 4 times in a row.
It was
and
hilarious.
it was funnier every single time, I would say. Yeah, his face when he,
I know.
Here's what I'm wondering: was
It's
that
like he was more spazzing, and also a phone cord was wrapping around him.
was that done in reverse? Did they
That
wrap the
might
cord
be.
around him and then film it spooling off of him and then play it in reverse?
It's possible.
Or, because it kind of looked a little unnatural. I'm sorry.
I guess that was the idea, but even still,
Yeah.
It looked even more unnatural than it should have, I guess is what I'm trying to say. So yeah, you had that hideous, awful troll doll, which just every time that thing appeared on screen, I think it looked worse.
And then when it
more
started
terrifying.
running,
Oh yeah, it gets up and starts running, and you're like, "What is happening?" And then when it's running away from the crime scene, it looks like a tiny child running.
Oh yeah. They got the perspective off. After it killed the one guy in his living room, they kind of got the distance perspective off, so it looked like it was about the size of an actual troll doll from the 90s. Like it was about 6 inches tall. Oh gosh, that was fun. The daffodils were kind of amazing. So they were plastic daffodils that were activated by radio. Okay, so the troll doll was activated by temperature.
heat.
Yeah.
Why would they all activate by different things?
I
don't know.
I don't know. Just
Yeah, I was like,
guessing.
But
was
the
like,
last
surely the
two
daffodil-
ones were activated the same thing.
Which last two ones?
Wait.
No,
No, the big
daffodil
plan
was
was
the
with
last
the
one.
daffodils.
Yeah,
Yeah. Okay. So you had the troll dolls were activated by
Wait, but
a
the
certain temperature,
And then the foam core was activated by the bzzz.
by some sort of sound that the master put through the phone.
and I'm like, "Ooh, surely the daffodils will be activated by water."
water.
No. Ooh, a face, because it's set to target a face. No, radio waves.
Radio waves. Yes. so that it then targets a face and vomits plastic film onto your face. That was
And
that was hilarious.
only does it once. It goes and then it's done.
Oh yeah, and then
Oh,
it,
that's
like,
right.
dies.
Yeah,
They
it kind of went inactive after that point.
It didn't
I would
go for
think
the
it would-
doctor.
Yeah, you would
just
think it would just
keep
like go on a
shooting
rampage and shoot every mouth and nose combination you can find.
Oh, and also the plastic dissolves with CO2. So the
Yes,
way to
we had
get
it.
it off your mouth is to breathe out what you would probably be doing in this situation.
Yeah, it was.
It's fine. It's fine.
It was a bit.
I'm not angry.
There were plot holes. Let's just say.
And
Many
that's why they
plot
weren't
holes.
found on the bodies, because once they already died, they breathed out the CO2.
Yeah.
It was their last dying exhalation that dissolved it. Yeah.
And then no air came back into them because why not?
Yeah. So then we also had the Autons themselves, which, what did you guys think of these Autons compared to what we've seen in New Who? Because we've seen the Autons only twice, right? We saw them in
Yeah.
Rose, and then we just saw them in
In the
Pandora
last
Opens,
episode
The Big
we
Bang.
watched.
Yeah. Fantastic job on Jared's part, whether he intended it or not, of having us follow an Auton episode with an Auton episode. That was
Yeah.
awesome. I really do want to know, did
Especially,
he plan
like-
that? I don't think he did, though.
Especially like one of the more recent ones with one of the much older ones.
Yes, exactly.
It's quite a stark.
So these
contrast.
Autons, first of all, looked a little different. They were definitely like straight up mannequins
I think they
in
were
rows.
better than the mannequins. Because the mannequins were like
you like the ones on this episode better?
mannequins.
Uh-huh.
Like,
Yeah, the mannequins
But-
was more like a poorly written horror film where you're stuck in a
no,
shop and then all the mannequins are coming to life. But in this one, it's like, no, this is a creature. This isn't just a mannequin.
All right.
Yeah.
Their faces creeped me out.
Yeah,
which
I wouldn't.
I'm sure
I
was-
wouldn't say that
cool.
makes them better.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
but
Absolutely.
It's different.
But the thing
Yeah.
is, it went from normal face to wide-eyed, and then when you pull it up,
Oh yeah, it's like normal human face, then just nothing there.
plasticky eyes, and then you rip it off.
Can we
and
just
it's-
take a moment to appreciate
no.
the Scooby-Doo moment that happened about 6 times over the course of these 4 episodes where
I know.
it's old man McGillicuddy, and they would rip the mask off of his face. So
Who
let's
are
see.
you? Obvious cut pulls obvious fake mask off.
Right.
Whoa!
We had
Oh,
we had a police officer pull his face off, or no, the doctor pulled his face off to reveal an Auton underneath.
Who knew?
We had an electrician pull his face off and reveal himself to be the master.
Which that was probably the worst of all of them.
Right. Then we had the master pull his face off and revealed to be what was the guy's name?
I don't know.
I can't think
the
of the
guy
guy's
that
name.
was first mind controlled.
Exactly. That guy.
It's like
his lack.
no, that was obviously the master until right when you pulled the mask off.
Right.
Yeah,
Was that all the Scooby-Doo face mask pulls that we had? I
I
might
can't
have
think of
been
it.
want to say there was one more, but I can't think of what it was.
Yeah.
But at any rate, every time that happened, it was just, at the very end, I think we just kind of all, I paused it because we were all laughing so hard that they
like-
just
I'm
pulled
like,
the master's face off. And it's the other
There's
guy.
no way the master is dead. That's not even remotely the master's face, and they pull it off. Wow, it's not the master.
Oh, whoa,
that was pretty interesting.
Man. I did not
I remember
know
thinking,
that.
wow, they're not going to have the master regenerate on his first story because we already heard in Jared's Point 5 episode that Roger Delgado played him for several years.
Yeah.
So I wasn't sure what we were doing there, but that final face mask pull was, to me,
But that's like
maybe the best part of the whole
yeah.
series.
that was like every plasticky, rubbery, the clown Halloween mask that every kid
Yeah.
gets.
Oh, yeah.
That's the level of what it was.
I know.
Right. But again, 1971, this was probably, high tech
no.
BBC.
Like highly convincing.
Yes, exactly. So that kind of brings us to the next addition on our checklist under Classic Who. I've decided this is going to be a permanent staple of the Classic Who checklist: bad special effects. So we kind of
there's so
already
many.
talked about all of the fake faces. We also had, which we've mentioned somewhat, but holy green screen Batman.
No one ever actually drove in this movie. It was all green screen.
Oh no, except for that one cop car.
Yeah.
That slid in.
That was
That was pretty cool.
amazing.
That was another one we backed up where the doctor
drifted.
and Joe are getting attacked by the Auton, or they were getting attacked by the carnival people or whatever. And the
And don't
police
they
car
not
comes
refilm?
huh?
They don't refilm in these days, do they?
What do you mean?
They
Do
they
multiple
do
takes?
one shoot and then they're done.
No, they were probably doing multiple takes, but not
by
not
this
like they
point.
do now, where it takes them a day to film 30 minutes of an episode or whatever. But
30 minutes is a bit optimistic, to be honest.
But I think it must have been, so I kept calling it green screen. Jared said that at this time in the BBC, it probably would have been blue screen, but the same concept.
Yeah.
But holy cow, this
It's
must have
not
been
good
brand new
At the-
technology.
yeah, it's not good at the time, and they used it everywhere.
They used
like-
it for a car. Just drive a car
Instead of-
down
well,
a mountain.
That makes me think it must be new, so they're showing off this technology, because there's no reason otherwise why they wouldn't just drive a car.
Maybe not even showing it off, but just utilizing the hot new technology. And now, to be honest though, it is not uncommon for TV shows to use blue screen backgrounds for when someone's driving in a car.
I
Or
guess,
what
but-
they used to do is they would put them in a fake car, and then there would literally be a screen that was playing the background moving by. That's how they used to do it before it was green screen replacement.
no.
That's bizarre to me, because it's like, okay, you can set up this giant set where you have like probably a fake car that doesn't even work, so you can get the camera in there well, and you like line the windows with blue and then film it like that, and later in editing,
You don't
put
line
the stuff
the
on.
windows with blue. You just have a blue
Or yeah,
background outside of it. But having actors driving around
yeah.
with a camera, like maybe on the hood, and delivering their dialogue, taking direction, and not crashing the car, like that's why they do that. At the very most, what you get if you ever actually see a car that is actually driving down the street in a movie or a TV show, guaranteed it is being towed behind a truck. That, you know, the actor that is driving the car is not driving the car. It's being towed unless you have a full shot of the whole car, that kind of thing. But at any rate, so they use the green screen to show the background. Anytime anybody drove anywhere, if there was dialogue inside the vehicle, the background was almost exclusively green screen.
Even if they were just in a vehicle, they weren't even talking.
Could they not go up
Oh,
a
yeah,
radio
blue screen.
tower?
There were points where they were at the radio, they were on the radio tower, and that was green screen
You
background.
could tell the set. It was a good set.
There was,
But, like, what was the point of not just going up a radio tower or something?
well, again,
don't
that's
know.
a safety issue right
Actions.
there. Yeah.
But- My personal favorite has to
beat me to
be green screening the woman into her own kitchen.
Oh no, you
Oh, no!
you didn't steal mine. You didn't steal mine.
That's great.
Okay, so second favorite was
got mine.
green screening the master and two of the Autons into an office.
Yeah,
Oh, no.
Like
what?
you didn't
Mine-
have an office set laying around that you could film in.
you've had
So-
several so far.
right, you're right. And then they built the set for the living room of the plastic company previous owner CEO that was in retirement or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, then they had that reaction shot of the wife on green screen so that they didn't have to build out a kitchen. Like, are you
And
serious?
I mean, I guess the reason they did that so they didn't have to build a set for a 3-second shot that was only there so they didn't have to show the guy actually getting attacked by the troll baby.
All right, so the let's say those two were ridiculous uses of green screen. My favorite nice try use of the green screen was when, the random other Time Lord showed up to talk to the Doctor.
Yeah.
You hear TARDIS sound effects.
Why?
There is a TARDIS landing. So we are expecting, I'm like, oh, it's going to be the Master showing up or whatever.
Yeah.
And instead, a guy materializes standing in midair.
Just
Hello,
On
Doctor.
And again, on green screen. Yeah, and he's like, oh, I guess my coordinates were off. Hold on just a second. And they literally just zoom the camera in on him, but the green screen doesn't move. So it appears as though he floats towards the camera. And I'm like, what was that all about? So
Why?
again, that was an interesting attempt to let's see if we can experiment with this new technology, you know? And I may be jumping ahead of myself here. I had this under other stuff we noticed, but we're talking about him now. What was the deal with that other Time Lord? Did he
What was the point of
travel
him?
via invisible TARDIS or something? Like, why was there?
he's a special one. He can just
Pop
appear.
anything?
Okay. So the first time we see him, we hear TARDIS noises, and he like materializes, right? Like he fades into. Now he's standing in midair. So it's like, was he traveling? It's exactly
I was like, is
what
the
it would
best
be like.
disguise right now invisibility? What's going on here?
That's right. That's what
best
his
disguise
TARDIS
right now is
chameleon circuit
air.
did. Yeah, exactly. So, but then I think we heard TARDIS sounds when he left, and then later on in the story, he comes back, and
It wasn't
again
even later
we
on.
heard
It was like a few seconds
No,
later,
he's
wasn't
like,
it?
he leaves. No, he pops
Well, no, it was
out.
the second time that he showed up to talk
but
to the
he
Doctor.
leaves.
Was there?
Like, he pops out.
Yeah,
And then he pops back in and goes, oh, and one more thing. And then pops back out.
yeah. But so on that one, I think we heard the TARDIS sound of him appearing on that one. Did we?
I don't.
No,
did
'cause
he-
it was
I don't
like-
remember him appearing, but I remember when he left. Yeah, when he left, it literally he didn't fade out. He went and
With the
disappeared
sound effect.
with that sound effect, and then popped back in and went, "Oh right, one more thing." Blah blah blah, and then he's gone again.
You're
I'm
like, what happened to the TARDIS?
so when did Time Lords gained the ability to whimsically pop out of existence or whatever it was he was doing.
He wasn't even teleporting. He was just like not existing anymore.
So I assumed that this was a Time Lord we have seen before somewhere or something, right? So I clicked on him on the Wikia, and because of course there's a whole page for the guy.
Yeah.
But he is called Time Lord Messenger. He's not given a name or a title or anything. He's Time Lord Messenger. And it referenced him being part of the trial of the second Doctor where they force his regeneration. And I was like, oh, just what I thought. It's a callback. We've seen this guy. That detail is pulled from a comic or a book or an audio adventure or something like that happened after this. And I'm like, what? Like, after this episode aired, they decided to do an audio adventure and say, hey, do you remember that random Time Lord messenger? So
that can teleport.
They can go. So I don't get that guy at all. So, Corbin, you had a thought on under Jiggery Pokery. You had some psychic paper theory there.
Okay. I'm trying to remember the exact circumstances of this. Okay, I remember now.
All right.
When the master was the telephone guy.
Right.
Anyways, so he's like, can I see your ID? He's like, yes. So many people asked me
He's like,
this.
I've been checked so many times. ID.
Yeah. So he pulls it out. He shows it to him. We don't see it at all. He's like,
Right.
okay, you're good. Puts it back, finishes up, leaves. Then we find out it's the master.
Yeah.
And then I thought, if that's the master, A, how did he get an ID? And then B, wait, is that just a psychic paper?
Right.
That would be pretty cool. I don't know if the psychic paper existed at this time or not.
I think the psychic paper is a new Who invention. I could be wrong about that, but I think I read that
This is
somewhere.
evidence that it is possible.
Yes. So what we're going to say is official Noobs in the Whovian headcanon. Are y'all familiar with headcanon?
Yes.
Y'all familiar with that term? For listeners who may not be familiar with headcanon, that's the story behind the story that you tell yourself and you have no way to back it up or verify it, and it's not actual canon.
So it's like less than a theory, even.
No, I would say it's more than a theory, because to me, this is the truth. This is canon, but it's only canon within my head. So we're going to say official Noobs in the Whovian head canon is that the master had a psychic paper in this episode. So
And was using it.
Boom.
So, did we ever get this proven right?
that's right. If the 13th Doctor says something next season about that time the master used a psychic paper, then we'll go, yes!
And tried to wrap me up
Apparently
with
Chris
a
Chibnall
telephone.
listens to Noobs in the Whovian.
Yay.
Glad to have you on board, Chibs. All right.
Chibs.
That's literally what Jody calls him.
Okay,
Chibs.
I was going to say, I don't
Jody
think
Whittaker
he'll
calls him
appreciate
Chibs.
you calling him that.
Apparently that's like what he's known around, or at least Jody Whittaker calls him that, because she's worked with him like forever before, she worked with him before Doctor Who. So speaking of the master and the jiggery pokery, that just brings us right on down into who's who, and we can talk about who is the master. So first of all, the master can't snap, y'all.
Oh my gosh. Like, I used to not be able to
was like-
snap, but then I never tried. I just didn't snap.
It was like,
Okay, so let me ask you this.
But he
Corbin.
was
while
determined.
you were in that young child phase of your life where you physically couldn't snap your fingers, did you, young child, not grown stinking man, several 100-year-old Time Lord, small child phase of your life where you couldn't physically snap your fingers, no offense to those who can't snap their fingers, but did you ever, in a very commanding way, pretend to snap your fingers in order to order around your lackeys?
and fail miserably.
Did you ever do that?
No. not at all.
You didn't? Okay. well,
I mean, that
thought
seems
that
to be
was
a
just what
normal thing. Like,
it would appear that way based off of these multiple episodes with multiple lousy snaps. They didn't even give him like a Foley artist inserting a snap sound. He just went,
It's like
I can't even not snap the way he did. I don't know
the
how
first
to get it.
time he did it, it was sad. But
Yeah.
when he did it again, you're like, okay, seriously,
was
what's
like-
happening?
The
here?
first time I thought it was what Tripp was talking about it. I thought it was he was supposed to snap and he like his fingers slipped and they were like, that's okay. We don't have time to reshoot it.
And
We're
they
one
like
take
zoom in
here."
on his fingers as well when he does it. They're like calling out the fact that he's snapping here.
He did
and
it
he
like-
doesn't snap.
In the course of these 4 stories, I think he did it like 6 times.
I know.
And no one of those examples did he actually successfully make a noise with his fingers. Just not at all. So
Maybe it was something about the leather gloves he was wearing, but I don't think it would have that much of an impact that you like.
I don't think I don't remember him wearing gloves while he was snapping.
I think he was at least one of the times.
Maybe
but,
one. I'll give you one.
But
I'll
like,
give you
but not
one.
all 6
Really?
of them. Half a
Really?
dozen here. Okay. So at any rate, Corbin, you had something to say about his face.
oh yeah, this guy, he intimidates me. His resting face is like a scowl. It's scary. I don't like
It's
this.
a scowl. It really was. Yeah. I think when he sleeps, he looks angry. Roger Delgado is,
I will
but I mean,
get
but
you.
but that's good, right? I mean, like for
yeah,
this
it
character,
works for the master.
yeah, absolutely.
And
Like,
then he doesn't snap, and you're like, oh, you're so less intimidating
you're
now.
you're not so bad.
You're so intimidating.
Something or other.
You're not intimidating.
Anything else about the master? What did you guys think about this master versus the master that we've seen in New Who?
New Who is better.
Oh yeah, okay.
I kind of like the less serious version of the master, where he's
Yeah.
more
Which one's the less serious one?
the current one.
new
Where
one? Okay.
he's more just insane rather than
So Jared mentioned that
serious.
Like where he has super jumps and electricity all the
that's
time.
weird. Yeah.
that. I
Jared
don't like
mentioned
that
The only
that-
part I
much.
don't like.
You know what?
about
Since you said that,
Jared mentioned that what we've seen of the Master in New Who is crazy bananas, madman. So
I'm
like
a
if he's
madman with a box times 2.
well, if he's evil, it's only because he is psychotic. Like if he's doing things that are bad, it's because he is just bonkers, right? Whereas the Roger Delgado incarnation of the Master is just evil for evil's sake. Like Jared described him as evil just because he can.
I know he looks evil.
He does.
Just looks.
Just the beard alone
Yeah.
with the white streaks
If
makes
he-
him look like a
Like
Hollywood monster.
If the
If he had a
new one
giant
looked
smile.
like that, if the new one looked like that, but was as silly as he was, it
I
just
wouldn't take
wouldn't
him
fit his
seriously.
title.
I like that you're
Yeah.
calling him silly now. We really like
Going
compared
from
to Roger
he's
Delgado.
insane to he's kind of silly.
Yeah. I mean, granted, the last time we saw him, it was a little silly. Like
Yeah.
eating that hamburger in that one scene. That was and then eating the turkey. That was a little silly.
Like I think if Roger Delgado was giving his best smile, I would be scared because I would think he was about to kill me. Like there's no way I think he could arrange his face
Yeah.
to look happy.
Yeah. So he is the like classic 70s villain that is just like mustache twirling, like I said, evil for the sake of evil.
It's a
Like that was
stereotype back then.
it was, yeah. You had the like nowadays we want to have the sympathetic bad guy, right? Like we have like Maleficent has somehow become a hero. Now, granted, I love that movie. We're going to go see the sequel.
Yeah.
We are.
I enjoy that movie. But the idea of this evil queen from which one is it? Is it Sleeping Beauty? Snow White? I always get them mixed up.
so.
Whichever
Yeah.
one.
One of them
It's Sleeping Beauty. Yeah, it's Sleeping Beauty because
one
there's
that-
no dwarves.
sleeps. That's how
Well,
I remember.
they both get knocked unconscious by a witch casting a curse on them and are
Yeah.
woken up by a true love's kiss. So I always get them mixed up.
In
But anyway,
Sleeping Beauty, there's only 3 small people instead of 7.
that's right. The idea of now we're going to take the queen and we're going to show why she did what she did. And then, spoiler alert, if you haven't seen Maleficent, it turns out she was the good guy all along kind of a thing. You know,
Wow.
like she made some bad choices, but then she's redeemed. In the 70s, you don't do that. You're just evil, right? And that's, like we kind of, I mean, like by the time we're done with what we've seen of the Master in New Who, you kind of feel bad for him, right?
Yeah.
Like in the end, it turns out
Like,
not
it
only
was
was
just
he
this dude that he was a normal guy who stared into a vortex because he was forced to and went mad.
right, yeah. So not only was he evil because he was crazy, right? So some sympathy there, right? Maybe he can't help himself, but then it turns out he's crazy because people made him crazy on purpose for their own will,
Like,
their
they
own desire.
forced him to stare in this vortex.
Right.
That he's not the first person to come out crazy, tons of people come out
And
absolutely scarred.
We're gonna roll the dice.
Good way.
Yeah.
There's no good thing that happens after staring into the vortex.
Well, no, that's not true because
You either run away screaming, you go mad, or what was the other one? Some people run away screaming. Some people
I don't know,
go mad.
but all the Time Lords do it. So like
Yeah.
the Doctor stared into the time vortex. What is it? The unfiltered schism or whatever.
Yeah. Something like that.
So yeah, like we get these layers of sympathy piled on top of the Master, and we're like peeling back the layers of onion and seeing what's really underneath and all this. Nope, not this version of the Master.
But in the 70s, you are Mr. Good and Dr. Evil.
Yeah, I mean, pretty much. And on top of that, you also have things where like, and Jared mentioned this in the 0.5 that it's kind of he's fighting the Doctor just out of sport, right? He calls him, like a worthy opponent, and all this kind of stuff. Like that's another classic like 70s villain trope of Sherlock and what's the Moriarty? You had the same kind of rivalry. Moriarty was Sherlock Holmes' arch nemesis, and he was the two of them loved going at it with one another because they were the only ones that challenged each other. So like Moriarty is like evil genius, Sherlock is genius detective, and so when they clash, they enjoy it because no one else is a challenge to them. And that's what you get here from the Master is, I rather love. There's the part where somebody says, "Aren't you upset that he escaped?" Oh, what, that he escaped? No, that just means I get to capture him again. Like every time that it drags out, it just makes the win so much better. And all this kind of stuff.
In fact, I'd rather enjoy it.
Yeah.
Weird smile
Yeah.
Stare into the camera
with a weird smirk.
So yeah, this is definitely a different take on the Master, but this is the original take on the Master. Remember, this is the first appearance of the Master. We're seeing the beginnings of this character.
He's just bad.
Yeah. So now flash forward to where we've been with the Master.
So now I don't feel sad for him because
He's actually not insane at all. He's just acting like it to throw the Doctor off.
Ooh. Another layer of the onion. All right, so speaking of the Doctor, who is the Doctor? Who is the third Doctor? What do you guys tell me about this Doctor compared to 9, 10, 11, 1, and 2? We've seen a little bit of all of those.
You keep comparing him to James Bond, was it?
Yes.
Yeah. Definitely.
So
absolutely.
So Jared mentioned in the 0.5 episode that John Pertwee actually served in the military intelligence division with the author of the James Bond novels.
Oh, nice.
oh, no.
That's the connection there, and like apparently doing like the stuff that James Bond did is the stuff that they were doing. So apparently, like Pertwee at one point referenced a pipe that you could actually smoke. It was a functional pipe, but it was also a gun. This level of like spy tech and stuff. These two guys were in it together, and so he kind of brought that flair to the Doctor.
So kind of more like 9, similar to 9.
How do you mean?
Well, 9 wasn't all secret spy all the time.
Well, what do you mean?
Like all serious and just I'm gonna be by myself. I don't want anyone's help.
Well,
There's
there's
definitely a
serious.
vibe of that in this episode. Yeah.
There's serious, and then there's James Bond, which isn't just serious. It's
Right.
something else.
I mean, he had a cool car.
Yeah.
He had gadgets and things. He was always. Did y'all notice how often in this episode or these 4 episodes he was tinkering with a gadget? Mm-hmm. Like,
Yeah.
Namely the same one, but yeah.
a lot of time on the same one. But yeah, just constantly tinkering with stuff. I will say this: I'm digging the cape.
Yeah.
The cape draped off the shoulders with like the red satin lining and everything.
That
Like
was
it was
cool.
kind of slick looking, So, what did you think about the first time his head popped up in the intro?
Freaked me.
Ugh.
I'm still scared.
Ugh.
His smile looks so unnatural.
But
I don't know.
whose is worse, the second or the third?
The
Like-
second looks doofy in his.
From the way he the way he acts in this episode, I feel like that was the best smile he could give. They're like, go ahead and smile and just give your best, most honest smile. And he's like,
yeah, but remember. Oh man, I wish we had video of that face that he just made.
like,
but then you just don't like his smile, because when he smiled at the end of the last episode, you said something similar.
yeah,
You said something about
he
how
looks
hard
really
the smile
weird.
That was devious.
yeah.
Did you see that?
He
Did
was like,
same thing that I did?
I think he said something about, actually, I enjoyed it. And then he gave that smile. And I'm like, why did you smile like that?
Actually, I'll rather enjoy it.
Yeah, it's like you said. He has a worthy opponent in the Master, so he digs it. So there was a couple of lines that I thought were great, and I don't know if these are like quintessential Third Doctor or what, but he at one point, somebody said he was being childish, and he said, "What's wrong with being childish? I like being childish," which didn't seem to suit him in the rest of the episode. Like,
yeah.
Not at all.
like Trip was saying, very serious and.
These are the rules. I'm going to follow them.
That's right.
You are going to
Well, I don't know about
listen
following
to me.
rules. I don't know about that. The Doctor is never one for rules.
You're going to follow my rules.
There you go. Somebody at one point was basically, who is this guy and is he qualified to handle this information? And the Doctor says, "I think you'll find, sir, that I'm qualified to deal with everything if I so choose." It's like, so throw whatever you got at me. I can handle it unless I don't really care about it anyway, in which case, meh, like whatever. So that was good stuff. What other thoughts about the Third Doctor? Anything else about him? What do we think about him after hanging out with him for 4 episodes?
I don't know.
Ready to move on?
I guess.
I'm ready to meet the 4th Doctor after all that. So
He did feel very James Bond, and I kind of liked that. I liked that feel, but
I am curious about what it would be like to spend, a couple of seasons with him, with a Doctor just bound on Earth. Like, can't, all the action and adventures got to come to him. We're not going to go to any alien worlds. What would that be like for a season?
Yeah.
But,
very busy year for London, England, in terms of aliens.
well, we already know that, at least since 2005, there's always some sort of cataclysmic disaster coming for London every Christmas.
Yeah.
We know that much. So, all right, guys, before we move on, just a reminder that Noobs and the Whovian is brought to you by listeners like Victor and Jared. If you find value in what we're doing, want to give a little bit of value back, that's all we're looking for. Head on over to patreon.com/Noobs and the Whovian, and you can become a supporting patron of family-friendly, independent media today. All right, guys, that brings us to the overall impressions. I'm going to let Corbin start us out.
So I liked the characters in this episode. I think there was a lot of differences in the kind of characters we had. It wasn't like heroic hero, a bad villain, whiny sidekick. Like, there was a little bit of diversity with that, but I'm gonna say I thought this was pretty good, and obviously the special effects were not that good, but I'm gonna not rate it based on that. Say this was probably a 7.5 baby troll dolls. Those things are terrifying.
Trip, what do you think, buddy?
I'm gonna go. This is definitely lower, so I'm gonna go 6.5. I just didn't get it. I really didn't get it. I didn't get the action. I didn't get the whole thing. So I'm gonna give it 6.5 weird smiles.
Weird smiles, nice. Jared, I had emailed him and asked him for his scores on this, and he gave this one 7.5 out of 10 deadly inflatable chairs, which I thought was fantastic.
Oh, we forgot about that one.
Yeah. That was a great piece of special effect technology.
Oh, it's crushing me. Help.
Now, he did say this is
we
rating
don't
it
even
as
know
a
where he
classic Who story, not stacking it up against New Who. So Jared's like, okay, if you take this in its time, he gives it 7.5 deadly inflatable chairs. I am going to not be so charitable and say this was terrible.
It was.
I think Corbin gave it a 7.5 only because he laughed so hard
Oh,
through.
Yeah.
We watched this over the course of 3
It was
nights.
enjoyable. It was enjoyable.
It was a fun experience.
I had to
was
wake Dad up in the middle of
horribly-
one of the episodes, but I thought they were so hilarious.
It was horridly
I was
enjoyable.
laughing at everything.
we were like partway through the 4th episode, and it was
It was like right near the end too.
was it
and you're-
even at night, or was it was in the middle of the day? We were
yeah.
watching
Like
it. It wasn't,
lunchtime.
it wasn't like it was midnight
Yeah, 'cause we
and
were
I was
eating
wasting
lunch
away.
while doing it.
Yeah.
I literally, Corbin goes, Dad, and I was
Dad,
like,
are you
oh. He's like, are you falling asleep? I was like, maybe.
It was like the end of the 4th episode, so you're like missing pretty crucial details in the story here.
I'm gonna go ahead and let you know that I missed crucial information during the first episode too, and I don't know why. I think I was working on the notes as I was watching it, which I apparently I don't need to ever do that with Classic Who because when we're watching New Who, I've seen it before. You know, so if I miss something, I'm not really missing it. But yeah. So that being said, I gave it 4 dissolving plastic films. It was just no.
Possibly the lowest rating we've had ever.
That is the worst score that I don't think any of us have ever given any episode below
Yeah.
a 5. I don't think anybody's given below a 6, honestly. But this is
The lowest I remember is a 6 or 7.
with. I mean, you even stack this up against other classic Who episodes.
The first,
this is a 4.
the Dalek episode. The first Dalek,
Yeah.
that was better.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not even joking.
All right.
That was
So
better.
so Trip, chime in with your creep level.
I'm gonna say 100. Let me explain. Just,
Please do. That's all we're here for, is to hear you talk.
just the special effects creep me out.
They were
Like
so bad.
when
They
they
terrified me.
like
I had
the
nightmares.
like the weird face masks.
Oh.
yeah.
Scared
Those are yeah.
I have to
Yeah.
say, the costumes the Autons were in were scarier than the Autons themselves. This thing has horrified me.
Especially when I just keep imagining, like, can I see your ID, sir? And those
Yeah.
eyes before he takes off the mask.
Yeah.
Oh, and also the big heads.
Oh, those
The
were creepy.
Autons
Oh, yeah.
had the big heads. It was like,
What was so crazy about that was I thought when we first did Rose and we were talking about the Autons, I did some research on the Wikia, and a picture of those big bobbleheaded guys walking around is the like profile picture for the Autons. So I thought that's what they looked like until I realized in this episode. Think through this with me, guys. You had plastic, mannequin people
Yeah.
with plastic human faces over them or whatever that was, rubber
Yeah.
or whatever. So they were a mannequin with a fake human head face thing on top.
Meaning at
and
that
then a
point-
giant plastic head thing on top of that.
Meaning, at that point, make the suits out of plastic
This is what
and
I'm
make
saying.
those living.
That's what I'm saying. So, so Trip, I don't think you actually gave us your score.
oh, I said 100.
100. All right. I'm gonna give it 125 just because there were some like nasty creep out moments. Most of it, like you said, involved when you would see the really bad rubber mask and you could see either the Auton no eyes underneath or the actor's actual eyeballs underneath looking out of these
Which
dead
were creepier.
slits. Yeah, that was terrifying. So 125 on accident. Corbin, what do you? Oh, and Jared gave it 100 creep levels based on the fact that they thought their special effects would be creepy.
Yeah.
He said so bad even by 1970s standards. Corbin,
I'm going to say this is 100 too. I think,
102
no, 100
also
as well.
Oh, okay.
Also,
Dad's the oddball in the family.
I think the
Yeah.
creepiest part was supposed to be the troll baby, but I thought that
That-
thing was hilarious, especially
that
when it
was-
got up and started moving, and I'm like, okay, I'm done. I can't take this.
My favorite part of the troll doll was when the guy started shooting it into pieces. That was
Oh, I forgot about that.
That was hilarious.
He like shoots a few bullets. There's no bullet holes in it, but it's like torn
just
to pieces.
falling apart.
it's
yeah.
like
he's shooting it
gashed
more.
apart.
He like shoots it, and one of the arms just comes completely off. I'm like,
Nice.
holy crap!
It looks like someone just took a knife and just sawed off all the things.
Yeah.
And then like
exactly.
took some kind of thing and then just like bashed a hole in it.
I know.
And then just tossed all the body parts onto the floor together.
Ah, so dead.
And
All right,
had
guys,
someone
so-
shoot a gun at it.
Down in listener input this week, I think it was either today or maybe it was last night. Christina on our Facebook page posted on our wall, and this, I as soon as I read this, I died laughing. I said, this has got to go in the show. I'm just going to read you what she wrote. She says, how do you know you've been watching too much Doctor Who? When you have dreams about watching Doctor Who. It was a regeneration episode, and the Doctor came back as a ginger. That's right. Oh, how happy he was to find he was really a ginger until he realized he was a 12-year-old boy. And let me tell you, he was none too happy about the prospect of going through puberty all over again. I won't bore you with all the weird, dreamy stuff. Christina, I insist that you bore us with all of the weird, dreamy stuff. She says,
I normally hate that, but this sounds kind of interesting.
I want to hear every detail.
Intrigued.
She says, I won't bore you with all the weird, dreamy stuff that never quite makes sense, but I will tell you he happened upon a Wilf-like grandpa type who tried to protect the Doctor the entire adventure and ended up becoming his companion. I'm going to rate my dream a 10 out of 10 red hairs and freckles just simply for the good mood I woke up in.
I woke up in a good mood. I would have been sad that wasn't real.
I told her
writing the script.
I told her I want a
script.
full episode. I'm sorry, a full season of the little boy doctor and his grandpa companion. I want season 12. This needs to happen. Or season 13 or whatever it is. Yeah, what is it?
Are y'all guys
Season 12 is the one that's about to come out. Season 13 needs to be the little boy Doctor Who with his grandpa-like companion.
And his red hair.
Oh my gosh. That's amazing.
Oh my gosh, I'm ginger.
So, Christina, thank you so much. Hadn't heard from Christina in a little while, but she's interacts with us on our Facebook page, as you can too, over at facebook.com/Noobs in the Whovian. And just follow us there. I've been trying to post there a little bit more often. I also started posting on our Twitter, guys. Basically, at this point, I'm just posting when we do a new episode. But cool. I had somebody hit me up and say, hey, are you on Twitter? I want to recommend you guys to some of our friends. So went ahead and started posting the episode links out there.
Did you post the old ones, or did you just post the new ones?
No, I just started posting. So each week when I put something up on the feed, I go and I grab the individual page from the the blog post / episode post from the website, post it on Facebook, and then I post it on Twitter. And just let people know that it's out there. A lot of people are already subscribed and they're going to get it in their feed, but I like to throw it out there anyway. That way you can share it with your friends. So if you're following us on Twitter, we're at Noobs Whovian, because Noobs and the Whovian is too long for a Twitter handle, apparently. Or you can go over to facebook.com/Noobs in the Whovian, and if you direct message us there, or you write on our wall, comment on our stuff, and it's something that should go on the show, it'll go on the show, because that was Christina. That made my day. That was amazing when I read that last night. And like Corbin said, I am now sad that this is not an actual storyline.
Now I'm expecting you to comment back and tell us the full story.
Oh yeah, that's the other thing.
You gotta tell us the whole episode.
Christina,
like we've had young Doctor, but I went really young Doctor.
Oh yeah,
how about
awesome.
a 5-year-old?
This would be great. Yeah, so far 11 is the youngest actor to portray the Doctor, but having a 12-year-old play the Doctor.
Oh, that would be.
Oh my gosh, man!
Can I dye my hair
just
red?
as smart, also.
Oh, that's the thing. He would still be him. He would just be in a 12-year-old body. So think about.
It's like really condescending 12-year-old. It's like, what is happening?
think about David Tennant in his 20s or 30s or however old he was, talking to Wilf. Remember, and he tells Wilf he's an old man, and he's like, oh yeah, right. And he's like, I'm 900 years old. And Wilf's like, oh, right then, but he's like, he still kind of sees Wilf as a grandpa type figure and everything. Can you imagine, 900 or however old the Doctor is at this point, 11 or 1200 years old by the time we get through Jodie's time, but as a 12-year-old. And then meeting up with a grandpa companion. And you know what?
I want to see Wilf walk out. I want to see, it starts off the season with Wilf walking out.
Okay,
so you
that would
think
be awesome.
Wilf is the new Doctor. So you see Wilf walking out. So you see Wilf walking out of the house, and then you see the 12-year-old boy walking after him.
So here's the thing. One of the Doctor right now has 3 companions, and one of them is like a grandpa-aged guy.
Oh,
so you've already got him there.
You've
already got
have
him. Oh my gosh.
Actually, that would be funny if at the end of the series, he's a 12-year-old boy. And then for anyone that tunes into the new series and doesn't know this, you start it with the old dude walking out. You're like, oh, old doctor, little redhead child comes out the door. You're like, what?
It's like, thank you, doctor. Wait,
what? Christina, I'm gonna. So 12-year-old doctor. So this is like Doctor Who meets Doogie Howser. Love it. Christina, we do want to hear all of the other weird, dreamy stuff that never quite makes sense. We definitely want to hear that. So either hit us up on our Facebook wall, comment under that original post, or you can record yourself telling us the rest of it. And
please record.
That would be fantastic. So, guys, for the game plan, we have Christmas in November next week as we cover the 2010 Christmas Ode. Christmas Ode?
Christmas Ode.
Hey, if I can make up Your Name November, Christmas Ode can be a thing too. The 2010 Christmas Ode, A Christmas Carol. We said Christmas too many times just now. Now, just as a reminder, the Christmas specials are now a separate deal, kind of like the David Tennant specials were. They're not a season; they're their own standalone thing. So, if you're watching along on Amazon, you do need to look for Doctor Who Christmas specials, or if you go to noobsandthewhovian.com, click on any of the newest posts, scroll down to the bottom. We'll have a link there that you can follow over to that, and that'll take you directly to the first bit of the Christmas specials. And this go round, it's the first one. It's called season 1. It's really weird the way they did the Christmas specials. Just as a side note, I don't know when this is going to go into effect, but at some point, HBO is gaining the exclusive streaming rights to Doctor Who. So I don't know if that means the exclusive streaming rights moving forward, or do they get the back catalog?
Do we have HBO?
No, we do not.
Just another subscription service you gotta have.
I was going to say, to throw this out to the listeners, I don't know how you're watching the episodes, but if you're watching them on Amazon Prime, keep an eye out because it may be going away. I don't know. I haven't seen enough of the details yet, so I'll try and keep you guys apprised as I see it. But I do know that the next season that comes out will not be coming out on Amazon. The next season will come out on HBO. So now I have to figure out how I'm going to do that. So,
now we have like 3 years to figure that out.
Huh? I'm talking about me watching it.
Oh, you.
I ain't waiting for y'all to catch up. Just like I watched the last season.
What's the point of being the Whovian if you have to wait for us to catch up?
That's absolutely right. So guys, we also may have, after the Christmas episode, we may do a mini-sode because we've got some prequel mini-sodes coming up. There's one called Space and one called Time. And then there's one, and those are kind of like, do y'all remember Meanwhile in the TARDIS? Remember those? Yeah. It's kind of like that. And then there's one that's called Prequel to The Impossible Astronaut, which is the Series 6, Episode 1. It's called The Impossible Astronaut. So we may do a mini episode on those prequels. If we do, we'll talk about that next week, and we'll throw out some links where you can see those mini episodes.
So I guess the obvious joke is, have you seen the mini episodes Space and Time? So funny. Hilarious. Space and Time.
Yeah, where's the joke though?
That's what I'm saying. It's not funny. I don't know why they named it like that.
I don't think they were trying to be funny. What is happening?
All
right, guys. After we do that, if we do the mini episode, then we're off to Series 6 with a 2-part premiere. We've done 2-part season finales. This is a 2-part
Have we ever gotten that?
I don't think so. So this is
maybe in Classic Who, but definitely not in Noobs.
They were all multiple part episodes back then.
This one was actually an 8-part premiere.
Yeah. So this one is a 2-part premiere, The Impossible Astronaut and The Day of the Moon. So, guys, I am so excited about Series 6. However, before we get there, we do have a Christmas special. It's fun. It's so much fun, this episode. And
Wasn't the last one was that with Shakespeare, or was that with
the last Christmas episode?
Yeah, the last Christmas one. Or was that?
No, the last Christmas episode that we saw was the end. Was the end of time.
Oh, the end.
Yeah, the last Christmas episode was the end of time part 1, and then the end of time part 2 was the New Year special.
And then they went into the 5th season.
Yeah, that was David Tennant. Did we lose you?
Yes.
Chip's confused.
All right, we'll talk afterwards. So, at any rate, guys, I think that was it on the game plan. So we'll just end by telling you that, as always, Noobs and the Whovian is a production of Master Closet Studios, where it's always smaller on the inside. Your senior producer is me, Austin Reason. Our audio engineer is this guy.
I'm Trip.
Our production editor is this other guy.
I'm Corbin.
Special thanks to tardis.wikia.com for the trivia. Thanks to Jared for the Classic Who connection. And shout outs to Jared and Victor, I promise we haven't forgotten you, for their Patreon support. You can find us at facebook.com/noobsandthewhovian and email us at noobsandthewhovian@gmail.com. Consider supporting us at patreon.com/noobsandthewhovian and find show notes as well as extra links and all those kinds of things at noobsandthewhovian.com. Wherever you found us, make sure that you subscribe, leave us a rating, share us with your friends, not because we're a great show, but because we watch one. Until next time, my name's Austin. I'm the Whovian. These are my sons, Corbin and Trip.
And we're the Noobs.
And we will see you next time.
Goodbye.
Beep, whip.